Alright guys, I am back yet again with another deck profile for Cardfight Vanguard Deer Days on Nintendo Switch. This time we got version 1 of my Lyrical Monasterio Feltyrosa deck. So of course version 1, everything through the first additional card pass, so through D Lyrical Booster 3 in this deck's case. However, with the exception of the Perfect Guard, which is mostly aesthetic, this deck can be played using only cards from the base game. So this deck revolves around Feltyrosa and her ghost units, and allowing you to superior call any ghost normal units that you reveal during your drive checks in order to give you both additional attacks and more drive checks, so you have more chances to pull a trigger. So, as always, we will be going through the deck real fast, and I'll show it off in one card fight for you to see it in action. So, starting first with our Ride deck, we have our Grade 0 starter, which is Admired Dear Sister Feltyrosa. So, when it's rode upon, if you want second, draw a card. Standard D-Series starter, like we always have. Next up, for the Grade 1, we have Beautiful Day Off Feltyrosa. So her auto ability says when this unit is rode upon, you can Soul Blast 1 to choose up to one ghost from your drop and put it into your hand. So ghost is a race, which the race of a card is down underneath the nation on the card itself. I know that's really small and kind of hard to see. I don't know why they didn't list the race over on the right side in the card data section. But with the exception of the effect triggers and Feltyrosa herself, who is a vampire, every unit card in this deck is a ghost. So this skill basically just lets you add any ghost back to your hand from your drop. So usually that's going to be the one that you discarded for your ride line. Although our vanilla triggers are ghosts as well, so if you guard early, you can potentially add one of those back to your hand and reuse them as well. So very simple skill, but very useful. And then she also has her continuous ability that's active on Vanguard and Rearguard Circle. That says during your turn, if you have a ghost on your Rearguard Circle, this unit gets power plus 2,000. So a very basic power-up skill. She never really ends up on Rearguard Circle, but if you go second and call a ghost on that first turn to try to rush, she can get a little power-up from that. So next for our Grade 2. We have Talent of Enjoyment Feltyrosa. So her auto ability, when this unit is rode upon, you can reveal a ghost normal unit from your hand, put it on the top of your deck, and choose a ghost from your drop and put it into your hand. So this skill is a ±0, since you're putting one from your hand to deck and then one from your drop to your hand. However, it does guarantee a ghost normal unit on the top of your deck, which you do want to have for your first drive check for Grade 3 Feltyrosa skill, which we'll go over in a second. So this sets you up for later in the turn, while also letting you recycle another card from your drop. So again, very helpful skill. And once again, she has a continuous ability active on Vanguard or Rearguard Circle. During your turn, if you have 3 or more ghosts on your Rearguard Circle, this unit gets power plus 5,000. So again, a simple power-up skill. Again, like with the Grade 1, she never ends up on Rearguard Circle, really. But if you can get 3 Rearguards out on turn 2, then she will have a little extra power on that attack. So then lastly for our Grade 3. We have Rondo of Eventide Moon Feltyrosa. So her auto ability says when your drive check reveals a ghost normal unit, you may call that unit to an open front row rearguard circle, and if you called, you can counterblast 1, and this unit gets drive plus 1 until end of that battle. So this skill lets you superior call your ghost normal units that you reveal during your drive checks to your open front row rearguard circles, which most of the cards in this deck revolve around emptying out your front row, so you should have 2 open circles usually when you attack with her. So depending on what your drive checks are, you can potentially get up to 5 attacks with this ability. It is not once per turn, so if you check more than 1 ghost normal unit, you can call up to 2. Now of course there is the RNG factor there, because you don't know what you're going to drive check most of the time. Of course, the grade 2 of the ride line guarantees you 1 during turn 3. And then we do have one other grade 2 rearguard that can put itself from rearguard circle to the top of the deck, also guaranteeing you to be able to call it right back. But outside of that, you do have to rely on luck in order to check into the things that you would want to call. But when you do get those calls, you can superior call them out to get extra attacks. And for the cost of a counterblast, you can get an extra drive check as well. So that gives you a chance for another trigger, and it gets you a +1 into your hand. So overall, very cool skill, allowing you potentially up to 5 attacks per turn and possibly up to 4 drive checks. So that is our ride deck. Moving on to the main deck. First off, for the grade 3s, we do have our 3 additional copies of Rondo of Eventide Moon Feltyrosa, the LSR alternate art, of course. So next we have 4 copies of Capriccio of Circulating Star Ingrid. So she has 2 auto abilities, first of which says when this unit is placed on rearguard circle other than from hand, you can countercharge 1 and choose one of your other rearguards in the same column as this unit and stand it. So when you superior call her off of Feltyrosa's ability, you do get a countercharge, effectively making Feltyrosa's ability free for that one instance. And you also get to restand the booster behind her. So if you boost the attack of the previous rearguard that was in that circle, and then removed that front row unit through whatever ability, then you can restand that same booster and have both your attacks gain that extra power. So, very useful ability. And then she also has her second auto skill that says when this unit attacks, this unit gets power plus 5,000 until end of that battle. And at the end of that battle, you put this unit on the bottom of your deck. So this skill is a minus, but it does empty out your front row rearguard circle, which is very important since you need those open circles to be able to call anything off of Feltyrosa's ability. So again, a very vital skill for the deck, even though it does end up minusing you, if you attack with her after your Vanguard attack. So then lastly for the grade 3s, we have 3 copies of Selfie Practice Annalise. So her auto ability says at the end of the battle this unit attacked while boosted. You can put this unit into your soul to choose one of your rearguards and it gets power plus 5,000 until end of turn. So this unit is just a 12k base, which is kind of unfortunate, but she does put herself into your soul, which not only empties out that front row rearguard circle again, so you can have it set up for Feltyrosa, but she also turns herself into a resource, which soul can get very tight in this deck since we have quite a few soul blasting skills. So turning herself into a soul while also powering up another one of your rearguards can make this card very, very useful. So that is all for grade 3s. Moving on to the grade 2s. First off, we have 4 copies of Cannon of Overlaid Spinning Dietlinde, I think is how you say that. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. I think it's German or some shit. Anyway, she also has 2 auto abilities. First of which says when this unit is placed on rearguard circle, if Rondo of Eventide Moon Feltyrosa is on your Vanguard circle, then you can Soul Blast 1 to choose a ghost normal unit not named Cannon of Overlaid Spinning Dietlinde from your drop and call it to an open rearguard circle. So, very useful skill, letting you superior call a ghost from your drop back to your field. Now, this ability doesn't care where you called her from, so you can just normal call her from hand and still get that revival, as long as you're on your grade 3 Feltyrosa. Or, if you superior call her off of Feltyrosa's skill, once you reveal her for your drive check, then you can also use it during your battle phase and call one from your drop there as well. So if she ends up being the only normal unit that you drive check that turn, you still can potentially get your 5 attacks off of her skill, being able to revive another rearguard from your drop. So very, very versatile skill for the deck. And then her second auto ability says at the end of the battle this unit attacked, you put this unit on the bottom of your deck. So again, another bottom deck skill, clearing out that front row. And of course, like the others, it is a minus, but clearing out that circle is very, very important. So next up, we have 2 copies of Dedicated Serenade Eleanor. So her auto ability, when this unit attacks, you can Soul Blast 2. And this unit gets power plus 15,000 until end of that battle. And at the end of that battle, you put this unit on the top of your deck. So this is the card I mentioned before that can top deck itself. It does cost a Soul Blast 2, which is kind of steep. But it gains her a big power boost, so you can attack with her unboosted if you want. And then put her on the top of your deck, guaranteeing her to be your first drive check. So then you can call her right back, get the extra drive check off of Feltyrosa's ability, and save your booster for her second attack as well. So, very helpful card, though it does have quite a bit of a cost. I actually was running this at a higher count, but I dropped it a little bit to try to preserve soul. So that is all of our grade 2s. Moving on to the grade 1s. First off, we have 4 copies of Eternally Indistinguishable Abald Irene. Again, I'm doing my best with these names. But anyway, her auto ability says when this unit boosts a ghost normal unit rearguard, this unit gets power plus 2,000 until end of that battle, and at the end of that battle, you may put that boosted rearguard on the bottom of the deck. So she's a 10k booster with the option to bottom deck whatever she boosted. So this can be very helpful, especially if you have to call another one of the grade 1s to your front row, if you drive check one or what have you. Since none of the other grade 1s have the ability to bottom deck themselves, she is the only way to clear them off of your front row. So that can be helpful to set up your open rearguard circles for the next turn. Also with things like Eleanor, you know, if you don't use Eleanor's Soul Blast skill, she can't remove herself as well. So having Eleanor be boosted by her, you can still use her to get her to the bottom of the deck if you don't have the soul to pay her cost. So overall, a very important card. Next up, we have 4 copies of Wraith Embrace Bettina. So her auto ability says once per turn, when your other ghost is placed on another rearguard circle in the same column as this unit, you choose a card with Feltyrosa and its card name from your drop and put it into your soul. So this is just a good soul resource card, letting you cycle your ride line Feltyrosas from your drop back into your soul after you soul blast them out. This is a once per turn skill, but you should be calling a ghost in front of her every turn anyway, either from your hand during your main phase or from your drive check during your battle phase. So she should go off every turn, having you build up that soul and recycle those Feltyrosas over and over. So with all the soul blasting we're doing in this deck, this card is very, very helpful. So next up, we have 2 copies of Fulfill Sweet's Angelma. So her auto ability, that's active when she's on back row rearguard circle, says once per turn, when your other unit is placed on rearguard circle during your battle phase, you can Soul Blast 2 and draw a card. So this card is basically my Vanguard booster, since all my other grade 1s want to be behind a rearguard. You can plop this behind Feltyrosa. She can be a pretty good draw engine for the deck. She goes off when you superior call during your battle phase. So again, Feltyrosa should be doing that every turn, assuming you don't hit double triggers. So she can give you that extra draw power, and when she's behind your Vanguard, the 6k base won't be a problem either, since, you know, a 6k boost and an 8k boost would make the same difference when you're boosting a Vanguard. So that's pretty much the role of this card in this deck. So the only other grade 1s we're running is our Sentinels. So first off, we have 3 copies of Nocturne of Flickering Lambency Judith. So she is just your standard perfect guard. Now she too is a ghost. However, usually you don't want to superior call your perfect guard to your front row to be an attacker. So, you know, you can make your own decision there, but most of the time you end up adding her to your hand instead of calling her. And then lastly, we have one copy of the Blitz Order Elementaria Sanctitude, which of course you can play without paying the cost if your opponent's Vanguard has triple drive. So that's all the grade 1s. Moving on to the grade 0s, we do just have our trigger lineup, which is 5 crit, 6 draw, 4 heal, and 1 over. So starting first with the crit triggers, we have 3 copies of Glutton Nora. So just your vanilla crit, also a ghost. And then additionally, we have 2 copies of Precious Tune Edwidge. So crit with a skill, at the end of battle it boosted, you can put in your soul to choose one of your units, and it gets power plus 2,000 until end of turn. If you want to run less copies of Nora and more copies of this, you can. It doesn't really matter that much one way or another. So then next for the draw triggers, I have 4 copies of Transparent Snowy Night Baratois. You're a draw with a skill. If your opponent's Vanguard's grade 3 or greater, get shield plus 5,000. So you're a 10k shield draw trigger. And then additionally, I have 2 copies of Knowledge as Power Saskia. So she's your vanilla draw. Now, this is the rare instance where we're running more than 4 draws in a deck. The reason I'm doing that is draws are just more reliable in this deck than crits, since if you end up in a position where your front row is empty and they perfect guard your Vanguard, and then your first drive check is a crit trigger, then that crit is going to get wasted no matter what. You could give the power to a booster potentially, but that crit wouldn't help if you give it to a back row unit. So draws are just more reliable and always getting the benefits out of them. So I decided to run a few extras in this deck. Also, she is another ghost for potentially your ride line skills. So then next for the heals, we have 4 copies of Languid Relaxation Margaret. So just your vanilla heal. Again, she is a ghost as well. If you want to run any of the effect heals, you can. It doesn't make a huge difference. So then lastly for our over trigger, we have 1 copy of Demonic Fever Garviera. So her additional effect says during this fight, you get during your turn, all of your rear guards get power plus 10,000. So giving a skill to the fighter, powering up all your rear guards, which is very, very useful in this deck since you're getting potentially 4 rear guard attacks per turn. So that is the deck, so we will go ahead and have our one fight with it. And let's see, we'll fight Taiji. And we will be going second.
Stand up! Vanguard! Stand and draw. Light. Skill発動. Skill発動.
I love how the grade 0 Feltyrosa just has a thermos full of blood because she's a vampire. Alright, so let's discard. And we'll drop Annalise to ride. Use a starter skill to drop. And then we'll go ahead and call Irene over here. And Feltyrosa gains 2k since we have a ghost out now. So we'll go ahead and attack with the Vanguard first. I only get a crit trigger right off the bat. So crit to the Vanguard and power to Irene. He gets a heal trigger, but he has nothing to heal. So now we can attack with Irene. He lets that through too.
ダメージチェック
Oh, and we took out one of his obscadides.
ターンエンド
俺のターンドローライトスキル発動スキル発動セットオーダースキル発動
So he plays his first research order.
コールスキル発動パワープラスヴァンガードにアタック
And we'll let that one through.
ノーガード
ドライブチェック
ダメージチェックドロートリガー
And we get a draw trigger. So let's see, we'll give that to our rear guard
パワ
actually,
ープラス
because I'd rather keep her around. And we'll just let that one
ノ
through.
ーガードダメージチェック
ターンエンド
スタンドドロー
Alright, so let's discard one of these draws
ライド
to right. And then grade 1 Feltyrosa. We'll let a Soul Blast and add Annalise from our drop back to our hand. So let's see, we'll go ahead and call Bettina
コール
over here, as well as Eleanor,
コール
which will trigger Bettina's skill. Let us put our starter back into our soul. And now that we've got 3 ghosts out, Feltyrosa gains 5k. So we will go ahead and attack with the Vanguard first.
ヴァンガードにアタック
ノーガード
ドライブチェックよしヒミルトリガー
And we get a heal trigger, which we don't get, but we'll give the power to
パワ
Irene,
ープラス
so she can actually hit something this turn.
ダメージチェックドロートリガー
He gets a draw trigger. So we actually can't hit his Vanguard with either one of these without using Eleanor's skill, which I don't want to do right now. So we'll just have Irene take out his take out his rear guard rather. And then we'll have to just end our
タ
turn.
ーンエンド
スタンドドローこれで勝負をつけるライドセットオーダー
He plays his second research order.
スキル発動パワープラスヴァンガードにアタックこれで
But he has nothing to build a field with, apparently. So even with Eva Superior calling Obscadide, he's only going to get 2 attacks this turn. So we'll let this one
ノー
through.
ガード
ドライブチェックドロートリガー
He gets another draw trigger.
ドライブチェック決着だなアタック
ダメージチェック
ヴァンガードにアタックスキル発動パワープラス
And I think I'll let that one through
ノ
too.
ーガードダメージチェックよしクリティカルトリガー
And we get a crit trigger that unfortunately is wasted.
パワープラス
ターンエンド
私のターンドロー
Alright. So let's discard. We'll drop Annalise.
これが私の切り札ライド
Right, grade 3 Feltyrosa. And then the grade 2 lets us put a ghost from our hand to the top of our deck. So we're going to put Ingrid.
スキル発動
And then we get to add a ghost from our drop back to our hand, and Annalise was the only one we had. So we'll move Irene back and call Annalise. And I think we are good. So we will go ahead and attack with Annalise first, boosted by Irene. And Irene's skill gives her an extra 2k, which doesn't make any difference. But he's gonna guard it anyway. So then we want to resolve Annalise's skill to put her into our soul. And that'll let us get 5k to another rear guard, so we're going to give that to Bettina. And since Annalise is already off our board, we have no reason to resolve Irene's skill. So now we will attack with Eleanor, and I'm actually not going to boost. And instead I'm going to use Eleanor's skill, the Soul Blast. And she'll gain 15,000 power. He guards again. And now Eleanor's skill will put her to the top of our deck. So now we have Eleanor and Ingrid stacked on top, so we're guaranteed to get our 5 attacks this turn. So now we can go ahead and attack with Feltyrosa. And he guards and intercepts. So that's not going through. But we drive check Eleanor, so Feltyrosa's skill will let us superior call her. And we will put her over here. And then we'll counterblast to gain the extra drive check. And Bettina's skill. We'll just put our starter back to our soul again. And then Ingrid will trigger Feltyrosa once again. To superior call her over here. And counterblast. And Ingrid's skill will let us counter charge, so we'll get one of those right back. And we get to restand Irene. And that gives you the option to use Feltyrosa's skill again, but we don't have any open rearguard circles in the front row, so we're not going to use that. And then we get a heal trigger, which we do get this time. So we will heal 1. And we will give that power to Eleanor. So then we will attack with Eleanor, boosted by Bettina. And we're not going to use her skill this time. He gets a crit trigger. So then we can attack with Ingrid, boosted by Irene. And Irene's skill gives an extra 2k, which does matter this time. And Ingrid's gives an extra 5k on top of that. And he guards. So then Ingrid's skill puts herself to the bottom of the deck. And again, there's no reason to use Irene. He plays his 3rd research order. And he's going to get 3 attacks this time, with the superior call.
スキル発動
But Obskadid will gain a crit since he's got 3 research orders. So let's see, we will let this one through.
ノーガード
ドライブチェックドライブチェック
And no triggers, nice.
これで終わりだ
ダメージチェッククリティカルトリガー
Oh, but we got a crit. So we'll give those to the Vanguard.
パワープラス
ヴァンガードにアタックスキル発動パワープラス
And we just need 5 to block that. So I believe I will intercept with Eleanor.
インターセプト
And then his last Vanguard can't hit anything.
ドロー
So now we can Persona Ride.
ペルソナライド
So then, let's see, we will go ahead and call Deep Lindy from our hand. And we'll put her over here.
コール
And we'll use her skill to Soul Blast.
スキル発動
And now we can Superior call one from our drop. So let's call... we'll call Eleanor back out.
スペリオルコールスキル
And
発動
Bettina's skill lets us put our starter right back to our assault, making Deep Lindy's skill essentially free. So we'll call Angelma to our back row center. And I believe we are good. So now we will attack with Eleanor. And we're not going to boost,
ヴァンガードにアタック
but we will use Eleanor's skill to Soul Blast too.
スキル発動パワープラス
And she'll gain 15,000 power.
ガー
And
ド
he guards and intercepts.
スキル発
So
動
then Eleanor will go to the top of our deck for us to drive check momentarily. But first, we will attack with Deep Lindy, boosted by Bettina.
ヴァンガードにアタック
And he guards and intercepts again. So then Deep Lindy goes to the bottom of the deck. And now we can attack with Feltyrosa.
ヴァンガードにアタック
Oh, and he guards with his over trigger.
ドライブチェック
So we drive check Eleanor, so
ここから
Feltyrosa's
が
skill
本当の戦いスキル発動
will let us superior call her.
スペリオルコール
And we counter blast to gain the extra drive. And I'm not going to use
ド
Angelma
ライ
right
ブチェ
now.
ック
Check another
ドライブチェック
Feltyrosa
クリティカルトリガー
and a crit trigger. So we're going to give both those effects to Eleanor.
プラスパワープラス
And we only get 4 attacks this turn, so he's probably going to survive because I know he has a perfect guard in his hand.
ヴァンガードにアタック
But we'll attack with Eleanor. And Irene's skill gives an extra 2k.
パワープラス
And we won't use Eleanor's skill right now.
スキル発
And
動
yeah, he perfect guarded.
完全ガード
And I don't want to use Irene.
ターンエンド
スタンド&ドローペルソナライド
He does get his persona right.
セットオーダースキル発動
And he plays his last research order.
コール
But he still doesn't bind any rear guard because he wants to save that soul. To superior call Obskadid, who again gains a crit. So let's see, we will guard. And that'll be 2 to pass. He gets a crit trigger.
Vanguard にアタック。スキル発動。パワープラス。
And that's 43,003 crit, so I think we'll perfect guard that one. And we will discard that draw. And we'll guard that one as well. Alright, so now we can Persona Ride once again. And let's see, we will call Irene over here, which will trigger Bettina's skill to let us put a Feltyrosa back to our soul. And let's see, we'll go ahead and swap Irene with Bettina so we can empty out our front row. So we will go ahead and attack. And we'll attack with Eleanor first. Not boosted. And Eleanor skill. With a Soul Blast too. And she gains 15,000 power. And he guards and intercepts. And then Eleanor will put herself to the top of the deck. So then we'll attack with Bettina, boosted by Irene. And Irene's skill gives her an extra 2k, so we can hit a magic number. And he guards and intercepts yet again. And now we do want to use Irene's skill to bottom deck Bettina. So then we can attack with Feltyrosa. And he perfect guards again. And we drive check Eleanor, so Feltyrosa skill will let us superior call her. And we counter blast to get the extra drive. And I'm gonna go ahead and use Angelma's skill to Soul Blast too. And we will draw. We'll get a heal trigger. So we'll give that power to Eleanor. We don't get the heal, unfortunately. And we drove check Bettina that time, so we'll use Feltyrosa's skill again. And we will superior call her. And counter blast to get one more drive check. And there's Ingrid, which we could have used a little sooner, but we're not going to use Feltyrosa's skill because we're out of empty rear guard circles. So he's only got one card in his hand, so we should be able to get him here. So we'll attack with Eleanor, boosted by Irene. And again, Irene gives 2k, which makes no difference. Oh, and it was a perfect guard. Wow. Alright. Well, he's still got one attack left. It's weak, but he's got nothing left on his field or in his hand. So we're not going to use Irene. And we're going to attack with Bettina.
ヴァンガードにアタック。
ノーガードくそダメージチェック
And we got him with that one, finally. Wow.
やった次も負けないから。
Well, it took a while, but we finally got him. So there you go. That was my Feltyrosa deck. Pretty fun deck. I will be back soon with more deck profiles. I think next up I have another lyrical deck, actually, with my Fortia Friends deck. So until then, I guess that's all for this video. So lots of luck to you and yours.